Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Lindsay, and in this video, I'm going to show you how I made a curtain panel out of hexagons for this French door window right here. I'm going to show you how I prepped the hexagons and how I put them together, including how I arranged them in a color wash or gradient effect. So stay tuned to the end of the video so you can see the finished product, and also because I really need your advice about something. If you watched my video, 5 Ways to Hexagons, you'll remember that I was trying out different ways of preparing and sewing hexagons, mostly by machine, and then I compared them to the traditional English paper piecing method, which is done by hand. And I was looking for a hand-friendly and low-stress way to make enough hexagons to make this piece of fabric for my curtain. I ended up deciding on machine-appliquing hexagons to a backer fabric. So here's my backer fabric, and then I would sew around the edge of it. And as I said earlier, I need 206 hexagons. And so far I've made 199. Here's a little stack right here. And I've saved these last few so that I could show you the process of how I made them. These are the hexagon papers that have a 1 3/4 inch size. Just pin it to the back of the scrap. Part of me wished that I had used a smaller hexagon paper because these papers just barely didn't fit on a lot of my scrap. I just used my little mini rotary cutter, which worked great. And I eyeballed a seam allowance as I cut around it. There we go, it's pretty rough. One of the things that I actually bought for this project was this Clover mini iron. It comes with like 2 little mini irons like that. It comes with a knife, so you can use it as a hot knife. And it comes with this one with a little ball on the end, I think for making dolls or something, I'm not sure. But most importantly for me, it came with this long, skinny, almost looks like a butter knife. You unscrew that and put the different heads in. And I love this because it was very close to the exact size of this little area that I needed to iron. So I was able to make these 199 hexagons without stressing my hand too much, because to do that with an iron, all those hexagons would have been really tough because it's so much heavier than this thing. I was able to bring it with me when we went to visit my parents. It just was so easy to transport. I got most of them done when I was there. So this is just all that's involved. You're just folding over a corner, edge by edge. I mostly did not burn my fingers. This thing does get really hot. I'm using it on the high heat setting, and it has not burned any of my fabrics, which is good. So it's not perfect. You can see how it's flipping up like this, but it's going to get spray starch and then a little press. One final thing about this little iron, it comes with a stand. It's pretty flimsy and you have to be very careful how you put this down. And I had to double check many times to make sure that it wasn't touching the plastic underneath. If you have one of these or get one of these, be very, very careful with it. I did these like in batches. So what I did was I folded over the edges on everything and used that mini iron. And then I went about the final pressing. So I took the paper out and put that on my pressing surface with the edges folded under. Then I gave it a spray and then put the real iron on it. And I had to be very, very careful just to set the iron down and not iron it, because these can get stretched out of shape pretty easily. So there you go. There's a hexagon. That's what it looks like on the back. So next up, I am going to sort these by color. Then I am going to try to lay them out in a cool kind of gradient pattern. So we'll see what happens. All right, so what's going on now is that I'm gonna change up the way I'm gonna do this. I think It's going to be double the work to lay them out on the table first and then put them on the design board. I know I was kind of sorting them into color families, but I was getting really nitpicky about it. So I thought, might as well just do it on the design board. I'm going to move my design board onto my table and work on it as a flat surface rather than a vertical surface. I have taped some dowels to the back. One of my viewers' ideas was to tape dowels to the back to make it sturdier. So just did that, and that has definitely helped. So I'm just going to put all the things in the center here and then start laying them out. According to my notes, I need maybe 8 along the bottom. And then I'm going to go up from there, and they're going to be on their points like this. And the bottom will be all the darkest colors, so the darkest blues, and then it's going to somehow morph to the very top. I don't know where the lightest area, if the lightest area is going to be at the top or if it's going to be at the sides. I'm just going to kind of go with it and see what happens. That was tiring. I did that all in one go, standing up, because I didn't want to mess with the camera. But I definitely need to fine tune it. It's a work in progress. At least I kind of have things sort of where they're supposed to go, but there are definitely some that are jumping out, like, take me out, that I'll need to replace. So I'm going to take a break and sit down and relax, and then I'm going to come back to this, finish arranging it, and then I hope tomorrow I'll be able to start sewing them on. Well, here it is, for better or for worse. After laying it out yesterday, I spent a lot of time moving pieces around and making it better, and then moving a piece and making it worse, and then not being able to remember how it was before. And I got to a point where I said, enough, I'm just gonna leave it like this. This is what I have to work with. So I think I've made the best of it. Now, I'm sure there's many of you with really good color sense who maybe are looking at this and saying, oh, don't put that there, don't put that there. But, you know, I'm doing what I can. So, but it makes me think about my other hexagon quilt, the one that I'm currently hand quilting. And that is the one that I designed after scanning all the fabrics into the computer. So I was able to move the colors around on the screen, try things out, and then most importantly, hit undo if I didn't like it and go back to the way it was. So that was really, really handy having that feature. So doing it myself on a design board, a lot trickier. Anyways, what I'm going to do now is show you how I'm going to baste these hexagons onto the backer fabric before I sew them. And I am using a product that I've never used before. I was watching some YouTube videos and I found this Jalili Studio Appli-Glue. And it's really nice. It says archival quality, acid-free, pH neutral. And it's got a tip that you put on it, which has a very tiny hole in it. So you can be very precise about where you put the glue. And so I'm going to show you how I'm doing that. And then after that, I'm going to show you my thread test. I've already tested the 100 weight thread that I bought and compared it to the monofilament, which is what I used in that video where I tried out all the methods of making hexagons. And I think I like the monofilament better for, I don't know, I'll do a little test and show you. How about you go find somewhere else? Good job. Thank you. So this comes with a black cap, and you take the cap off. And then you put on this pink cap, which has the really tiny hole in it. Maybe you can see it. So I've drawn a line across the fabric so that when I place them, I'll place these corners here on the sides. I'll Place the next one next to it, also with its corner on the line. And then the other ones will fit in like this. And honestly, I was thinking, why don't I just glue these things to the fabric instead of sewing them? Why am I sewing them? But of course, I like to sew, so that's why I'm doing it. They say put it like every ½ inch, just little dots. So this point here is lined up with the line. Put some more on. Now these lines are going to be so important so that the whole thing doesn't start traveling in some wonky direction. Not bad. And no pins to sew around or to stick you. What I haven't decided is, am I going to glue everything on at once? Probably not. Let me know in the comments if you have ever tried Appli-Glue before. And if you didn't wash your project afterwards, how does it look in the long run? This is not going to be washed. I mean, it may someday be washed, but it's really to hang in front of the French door window. So if I do end up using the monofilament, it should be okay because I won't be washing it. Okay, they're all pinned on. So I have my machine all threaded up with the monofilament thread, and I am using this Superior Monopoly. This one says heat resistant and that it is iron and dryer safe at medium heat, and it has reduced sheen. I know there's different kinds of monofilament out there. This is the only one I've tried, and I certainly have not done any kind of long-term tests. Those of you who don't know, I use a Singer Slant-O-Matic 401A. I was fortunate enough to get it from my mother-in-law, who's not using it anymore. In my last video, the video where I tried using monofilament, the machine handled it just fine up top and in the bobbin as well. So I've taped the bobbin and the top thread together at the end so I can keep track of them better. I'm coming just before the edge before I turn it. Actually, I went too far that time. That's okay. Live and learn, right? I'm also going to cut off these ends now. I've got my little monofilament thread tamer over there. It's a piece of blue painter's tape that I have taped down, sticky side up, to catch my little thread remnants. I have to say, the Appli-Glue is doing a great job of keeping things exactly where they need to be. So after I get here, I'm gonna take it out and show you. So I'm gonna have a piece of tape ready to tape down these ends. And thank you to the people who suggested coloring in the end of the thread with a permanent marker, and that really helped me to thread the machine much easier. So I have done this one, and this one. I really like how you cannot see it on the dark fabric. You can definitely see it on the light fabric, but I really wonder from across the room, that's not going to make a difference, is it? I don't think so. Now I'm going to show you on the back. This is where I traveled between the two hexagons. Got some more traveling here. I did talk about when I make this curtain using this fabric that I was going to make a roller blind, so I was going to be able to roll it up and see the stitching on the back. But I have rethought that blind idea. I'm thinking I'm going to make some way for it to be hung up in folds. Although that's not going to work either. I may also just put it on a swing arm. I don't know if you've ever seen those swing arm curtain rods that you can put it on, and then you can swing it open into the room when you open the door that it's covering. So maybe I'll do that so I don't have to roll it up. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. In that case, I don't need to worry about the back. If I did want the stitches on the back to be perfect hexagons, I would not travel between the hexagons. But I think for the sake of this project and time, I don't mind how it looks. Now I am going to show you what it looked like with the 100 weight thread. You can definitely see the 100 weight more, even on the light fabric. And honestly, the monofilament has been behaving. So I might just go with that. Now you can see how it's kind of not perfect here. There's some gaps. Maybe I'm going to decide that that is a feature. It's going to add some texture and dimensionality to the project. Let's see, how can I spin this? I think I'm ready to start preparing my backer fabric. So I've got to cut it out to size. Then I'm going to put the lines on it and start the process of gluing them onto the backer fabric. But first, I think I'm going to take a walk. I need to clear my head a little bit. But at least I've decided on my thread. Who knew that I would choose monofilament? Don't yell at me, please. This piece, it needed to be 78 by 28. That's generous because my hexagons are going to be smaller than that, a little bit smaller. So I added room on each side. So first of all, I had to square this huge piece of fabric. It was 3 yards of fabric, and like squaring up fabric, I'm still learning how to do. I had to find the exact middle of this piece of fabric because I'm going to start putting the hexagons from the middle out. Also found the middle on the sides too, drew a line, and then I realized that unfortunately, my lightest colored hexagons are going to go right through this section. And my worst fears were confirmed when I got one. And I put it on, of course, you can see the line right through the hexagon. And since this is going to be hung in the window with the light coming through it, so I got out my eraser and I've tried to erase it. I could turn it to the other side, but the light's going to go through it either way. So, and that line's going to show up. Anyways, well, I was like, what can I use to mark these lines? And then I was like, well, I'm going to use my Hera tool. And the Hera tool I've been using to mark my quilting lines for my other hexagon project. So I tried that last night and it makes a very fine line. So I'm going to re-mark this Hera tool line. So I'm lining it up with my little notches. And these lines are important. I just don't want my hexagons to start traveling across the fabric as I put them on. I'm marking it kind of hard so I can see. This line right here is the Hera tool line. Here's the Hera tool, of course. Here's the line that I should not have made with pencil, marking the exact halfway point in the fabric. And then this is the little dot, which marks the exact center of the fabric. And remember, the Hera tool line is where I'm going to line up the points, these 2 points. Got the point on the center line right there. And then these 2 points have to be on this line, and then that point needs to be on the center line there. So I guess as long as I keep more or less to these lines, it'll keep it from just going crooked in a big way. Maybe it'll be crooked in a little way. It's not going to be perfectly lined up. And I think I just have to come to terms with that and have it just be part of the charm of this project. In the space of that break, I made a key lime pie and 2 loaves of bread. I feel really smug and accomplished today. All right, let's get these on. That's 3 down. Now I've got 206 to go. Let me know if you think I'm putting on too much glue. So you can see there's room on each side. So if it does travel, then I still have space for it. Of course, it'll look wonky, but at least they'll all fit on there. I'm going to place them dry first to see how they look with their neighbor. Are they playing nicely with their neighbor? You're playing nicely with your neighbor. All right, then you get glued down. Nice enough, right? Nice enough. So in that break that I just took, in order to give this time to dry, I came to that moment of, I think everyone goes through this, maybe not, is that moment of soul searching where you're like, am I doing this the way it should be done? Is it worth it? What am I doing? So in that amount of time, I thought, this glue works so well. I mean, these things are stuck on here. I thought, well, maybe I can just skip the machine-appliqued part and then put some batting and a backing on that and then machine quilt it. And then I thought, well, maybe I could hand quilt it. And then I thought, okay, that's all good and fine, but what happens when I do end up washing this? If I haven't secured those edges, then I think the glue's gonna wash out and they're gonna be coming undone. Anyways, I've gotten through that mental dilemma and I'm just gonna keep doing what I was doing. Let's give it a try. I'm going to experiment and see, is this where I can turn the whole piece? Yes, it is. And that is the spot. This is the big moment. Do I do each hexagon separately or do I go across and move on to the purple ones? Let me see how it looks to do it separately. Let me see what that process is like. Okay, this is annoying, dealing with all this fabric, but I guess this is what machine quilters do. I don't feel so bad about wrangling this fabric and moving it around, knowing that they are really secure. I mean, I wanted to take off that wonky purple one and reset it, but it was putting up a lot of resistance, so I'm just gonna leave it. All right, this is where I started, so I'm gonna go just past it and then backstitch a little. Oh man, it's gonna look handmade. Oh God, just backwards. I forget that more than anything on this machine is I forget to put it back in forwards mode. I feel better that I'm sewing these on instead of just leaving them glued. That was a cop-out, right? All right, everything's behaving. Monofilament, you're doing a great job. I hope I didn't jinx myself. Boink. Would this be easier on a modern machine? Is there something that would make this easier? Look, I probably should roll that up nicer, shouldn't I? This is where I would benefit from a lesson or 2 or 3. Okay, I'm gonna be doing a lot of stopping and starting. I'm not gonna film all this. I thought I was gonna be able to sew all these on in one day. Wow, was I ever wrong. I don't know if you can see this. These little monofilament tails, they catch the light. They look like those little hairs you get on your chin. Very, very pleased with the look of the stitching, but you see that? I'm just gonna have to be okay with that. Tomorrow, we're going out of town to stay with a friend for a week. So that I can keep working on this, I'm gonna go ahead and finish gluing all the hexagons to the cloth. And then that way I can just bring my sewing machine and work from her house. It's been 1 week and I found a way to stack up my pieces from my design board. I drew a little diagram and everything, so I was able to carry them with me in a box. I was able to glue them all on. You can see down here. This is the door that the panel's gonna go in front of, and you can see the light coming through, and here's the other end of it. I'm not sure which is gonna be the way up. I like that part right there. Now what I need to do is figure out, am I really gonna machine applique a little hexagon inside of each of these hexagons? But it takes a long time. There's a lot of turning, stop, move, turning, stop, move. That, I'm a little impatient. I might experiment with just doing a zigzag across. I don't know. I think that's what I'm gonna do. We'll see. So this is how I'm gonna continue. Back and forth and back and forth. But that still leaves where the sides, the straight sides of the hexagons join. But I have something in mind for that. So let me get whizzing along with this. I'll come back when I'm ready to do the next part. You can see where I crossed over from one hexagon to another. Again, that leaves these parts without being sewn down. So I'm in a bit of a dilemma right now. I don't know what to do and how to finish this. I have 2 ideas, and what I would love is for you all to give me your opinion on these ideas. I have a bunch of 12 weight thread and lots of different colors, and I've never done this before. I am considering doing like a little bit of cross stitch down each edge where they meet, just on the straight sides. And then that would serve to keep those folded edges secure and also could add some visual interest. And I was going to try to blend the thread color with the fabrics that are being joined. That's really easy for the ones that are similar together, like using a red here, because I don't want it to stand out too much. But when you come to big color switches like this purple and pink, any color I choose, like if I choose the pink, it's going to show up really pink here, and purple, vice versa. Maybe that would be cool, but it would only be certain ones that would have that kind of contrast. I hope this makes sense. So that's one idea, but I really wanted someone's opinion before I take the time to do that. My other idea is just to not wash it, or if in the wave feature, when it does get washed, see what happens with these folded over sides that are not sewn down. Are they going to come undone? I know the glue will wash out, but what's going to happen? All right, here it is on the design wall. I don't know. What do you think? Does it look better with the darks at the top and the lights at the bottom? Or does it look better with more of the colors at the top and the blue at the bottom? Do I want a little border? I don't know. Or do I want to trim it back? I don't know. How would you finish the edges on this? I started this project without totally thinking through what I would do with this at the end, but here I am. I'm tempted to just leave a little white border and finish off the edges, or I could put a little binding around the edges for an outline. I totally welcome your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.